Still Tajikistan, Pamir Highway, Alichur. I'm just leaving Amina's homestay after a long day drive, mostly off-road. This was a really good place to crash, and I really crashed down. I slept like a baby. And now it was time to move on, because in next 2 days I'll be finalizing my trip through Tajikistan. I've been here already for 10 days, and with a good reason, because as I was saying, Tajikistan has so much to offer. So many scenic roads, on-road, off-road routes, beautiful. Nowhere like here you'll be able to drive on high altitudes with nice scenery. It's simply amazing. And even this kind of weather won't be a constant if you go through some summer months, because, you know, storm happens. It lasts maybe for a half a day and then it passes away. And here's the map. So all tracks that I could do, I did. Only remaining part was this Pamir Highway up to Kyrgyzstan. So from Alichur I decided to go to Sherbalak Observatory on 4,350 meters, and then after that to reach a small crater done by meteorite, obviously, and then to sleep in Murgab, place where I already been, pass through Akbaytal Pass, and later on through Kissil Art Pass on 4,280 meters, which is at the same time also bordering between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. After that I'll be heading to Osh, where I hope to rest for a little bit, and also I made a reservation before I left my hometown for a pair of 2 new tires in Osh. But first thing first, Sherbalak Observatory and crater that's supposed to be next to it somewhere in the middle of nowhere. This was actually not part of my original plan, but when I was in Murgab, I met older couple from Germany, same thing on their motorcycle. And they told me that they'll be heading to see those 2 sites close to Murgab, this observatory and the meteorite crater, and that I should do it as well. Of course, I asked them for rough coordinates, and you know, it was easy to place it within the schedule because it was within my route. Easy way to reach those 2 sites was directly from Murgab. There was a small off-road track, nothing serious. But when I found those 2 places on Google Maps, I figured it out that you can easily everything is easily across Google Maps, that you can reach it from south as well, and then continue through that off-road track north and reach Murgab. And this is basically the route that I took. Nothing special, easy way forward. Weather was changing. You could see a few minutes ago it was sunny, before that it was raining. The most important thing for me was that the soil was good, that it was drivable, and as you could see, this is some kind of mixture in between sand and gravel, so it's pretty easy to drive through it. Another attraction related to those 2 sites was the possible fact that in this wasteland I would be able to see threatened animal which lives in Central Asia, and it's almost extinct, and that's Marco Polo sheep. Let's say the biggest sheep that exist on the planet, with huge horns. So yeah, those few things were more than enough with a good off-road, as you could see, to drive me through this beautiful wasteland. And this steep hill will drive me to 4,350 meters, which is the exact position of Sherbalak Observatory. Observatory is actually abandoned. It was active within the Soviet era, and it's on the top of the mountain in the middle of nowhere. It was used for measuring sub-millimeter wavelengths. I know, now you're confused. So was I when I read about this place. So I'll try to make it simple. You have obviously those optical telescopes, which you can find everywhere. Then you have these radio telescopes, the huge ones, that you can find as well, not so oftenly. And this kind of telescope is the third one, sub-millimeter wavelengths measuring telescopes. And you can't see much of those because there are only 5 of them in the world, and obviously since this one is closed and not in use, then even less. So why are they so important? Well, it seems that this sub-millimeter wavelengths can dig behind the planets and the stars chemistry to tell us what they are consisting of, to tell us how old they are, which is pretty big thing for astronomers. So this is what it was used. Unfortunately, nowadays it's closed and it's just a tourist attraction for adventure guys like me. You see 4,310 saying on my Garmin, and it's stated that it's 4,350. Okay, 30 meters up or down, doesn't matter. I'm not sure if there is anything left within the observatory. Obviously the door was locked, so I couldn't get in. So I just observed the scenery around. Unfortunately there was no Marco Polo sheep whatsoever, and honestly it didn't surprise me because that animal was threatened by humans, so to see it would be pretty much like winning a jackpot. Another interesting thing was that this place was in a certain way very familiar, because if you were watching Mad Max movies, and I believe most of you did, then this place would ring a bell, because it was abandoned, full of machinery hanging around, so it was like, wow, now Mad Max will come out with a rage and kill all these guys around him. And then all of a sudden there it was, on the ground. Unfortunately only a skeleton, actually only a head of Marco Polo sheep. So at least I could see something. And obviously I couldn't resist to play like a Mad Max and putting a sheep head on the top of my bike to see how it would look with additional accessory. This one obviously not bought from eBay. Yeah, looking good. Too bad that I can't drive with it. And here it is, you can see all the scenery of a abandoned place. Mad Max on his bike as well. Weather changed again. This time it was snow. I mean, what could you expect on 4,000 and something meters? I know what you are thinking. 4,000 and something meters, High in the mountains, motorcycle, not a good combination. Well, you remember that what I told you about this observatory, the reason why it was built over here. It was built because the climate here is very much dry, so I was guessing even with the snow it won't be, you know, huge snowfalls, it will be just a light snow and that was it. And terrain was pretty much good. However, one Dutch couple that was driving from crater to observatory on four-wheel drive told me that there are some swampy or muddy areas, but okay, I was guessing when I reach that place I'll see if I will move forward or go back. And the reason for these swampy areas or muddy areas are obviously mountain tops, which melts at this time of a year, and they can create such areas. I'm not saying this is bike and surrounding area, and this is the reason why fortunately I stopped. Boy, was I wrong about this part. 4,400 or what meters and stuck in the mud. Yes, I still had Continental TKC80 on my bike, but bike was simply too heavy. The road was the track was too muddy. And actually what happened is that I could feel that mud is appearing below the bike. Tried to play with it, to get out of it, but the thing with sticky mud is that it keeps, you know, accumulating on your tires, and all of a sudden you don't have TKC80 but Michelin road tires, and you can't do anything about it. You just, you know, fall down and that's it. Not even picking up a bike from the ground was easy. As you could see, I was pushing, but first of all, on this altitude you don't have strength, you don't have anything, you are exhausted. And then second, the terrain, the soil was so slippery that you need to, you know, dig with your boots, step in deep in a way to be able to push your bike on an upright position. People were usually asking me concerning the trip took that long. Was there any time that I regretted that I took this kind of voyage, in particular that I took a certain track or something? No, and even in this case it was not the case. I haven't regretted that I took this track. It was simply something that happens, and yes, it was exhausting, yes, it was hard to get back on the bike, but that's part of adventure. This is something that you prepare yourself mentally and physically. You're practicing that in the normal circumstances, and then you know what you have to do. That's simple as it gets. First, if you can't pick your bag because it's too heavy, you put your bags out of it. Here you can see panniers, but they are empty. Bags are on the other side. And then you are trying to get up and try to move with your bike as it is. Unfortunately, here as well, I was falling, I don't know, 4 or 5 times until I managed to figure out what I want to do. What's the best way to get out of it? And the best way to get out of it was to pick up the bike and clean tires completely up to the point where I will be able to see knobs on it, and up to the point where they will be where bike will be drivable. And at this point I did it. So finally I managed to get out of mud. She's somewhere there. I'm miscalculating.
Basically it was all good some 1 kilometer, but then mud started to pick up and I couldn't continue anymore, I fell down, and instantaneously I couldn't also get back, at least not with all the heavy that I have. So I needed to put everything down, I needed to clean all. Now this is amazingly clean compared to how it was. But okay, practicing some clay artment. It's still holding. And then when I cleaned the bike, managed to drive it up to here, I need to go back to pick up my stuff, which at 4,200 meters altitude is not something that you want to do, but that's why it's adventure. And now I'm again on a more or less nice road, so going straight to hotel. Hot shower. Need to wash this baby too.
So I left straight to the hotel. Unfortunately, all those days drinking different water, probably catching some cold, I caught diarrhea. And in this Pamir hotel in Murgab, they are having one toilet on entire floor, so needless to say I had problem of getting out of it with a good sleep and everything else, and I was looking forward to catch a glimpse of civilization as soon as possible, a normal hotel with a shower, toilet where I will be able to shit all day long, as they say. I wish I was kidding, but that was the case. I had some pills that I took, and I was really hoping that this voyage to Kyrgyzstan I'll be able to survive without shitting myself and bike as well. And this time I was hoping that I will be able to stop at Akbaytal Pass on 4,655 meters to take few photos, because last time when I was passing through it, it was in the middle of the night, there was a snowstorm, so I couldn't take any photos. This time, as you could see, I took few photos, but actually this is not Akbaytal Pass, this is just a sign, a board saying it is. There are two boards, one before it and one after it, and actually we are still climbing to the actual pass itself. The weather was changing, as you could see. Before pass it was a little bit of snow, and now it's mostly sunny with few clouds. And this is all normal, and when I compare it to that night, this is absolutely wonderful, like winning a lottery. Few meters more and here it is. This is Akbaytal Pass. From this point onward I'll be going downhill. Probably because of the wind or something, they couldn't place a board with the name of the pass up here, so they put it way before and way after it. And I will repeat here as well, this is the second highest international highway in the world, with its altitude of 4,655 meters. Down below you can see a board where it says Akbaytal Pass, so good place to take few photos as well. On the side, right side, there, that fence, that's border with China. This is something that you do once or twice in a lifetime, so to take photo around here, this is something that it's a must.
So, made it. Okay, for the second time, but the first time it was very dark. Do any shooting. And this over here, where I'm heading, if I'm not gonna be shooted, is a Chinese border.
Even though it was June, it was very cold, so I put all that I had on myself. Here I'm heading to Karakou Lake, so close I will be approaching it. On my right side, it's still somewhere closer, like here, somewhere further, is Chinese border. Actually, in some cases this border was even further away, but because of the dispute that went back to 19th century in between Imperial Russia and Chinese Kingdom, where Imperial Russia took a huge portion of that land in Central Asia, Chinese wanted it back. So after collapse of Soviet Union, they asked Tajikistan, this is Karakou Lake on the left side, they asked Tajikistan to give them back a certain portion of land, and even though it's a wasteland, they want it back. It was like 1,300 square kilometers that was given back.
Hi. Good, you? You're coming from Kyrgyzstan? How's the road to work? It's okay, huh? You think that I'll be able to reach it by the end of the day? Yeah? Okay. It's okay, at one moment it starts to be gravel, like 5 kilometers before the pass, and a few kilometers after the pass, and then it's tarmac again. Yeah. Cheers. Bye.
Distance in between Murgab and the Pamir Hotel where I was staying in Tajikistan and Osh town in Kyrgyzstan where I was heading is not that big. It's only 400 and something kilometers, but you have two big, let's say, obstacles on your way. First one I just passed, that's Akbaytal Pass on 4,655 meters, and Karakou Lake, which is a little bit lower, and the next one is Kissil Art Pass on 4,280 meters. Both, if you have a good weather, are relatively easy to pass, and if you have a bad weather, then it's, you know, meter by meter. Here it is, Kissil Art Pass, which is at the same time borderline in between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. Tajikistan border office is on the pass itself, and Kyrgyzstan border office or container is few kilometers down the hill, so they are not freezing that much in the middle of winter. Pass itself, it's possible through most of the year, because it's international, part of international highway, although it doesn't look like one with all this mud. And I must say, with diarrhea that I had, I felt terrible. I felt if I fell down, I'll be shitting myself, my bike all road around. Fortunately, that didn't happen, and one step at a time, or, you know, meter by meter, I was managing to move along and getting down the hill without, you know, falling down. And road or track or whatever you want to call it up to this point, it was shitty, it was muddy. Okay, mud was not that slippery and it was easy to move forward, but one way or another, when you are driving this kind of tracks, you want to be 100% into it, and I had diarrhea. I was not even close to 100% into it. and I was really hoping that step by step I will reach a normal road, and here it was. After Kyrgyzstan border container, the road was pretty much good. It was some kind of tarmac asphalt with a huge amount of potholes, but in any case it was something that I could drive way more relaxed than the part around this Kissil Art Pass. I don't know if it was because I was feeling bad because of this diarrhea and everything, but I found that these kids that tried to stop me in Kyrgyzstan much more aggressive than these one that I had, chance to see in Tajikistan. I don't know where they are appearing from. There's one more little fellow. And he didn't get it quite good. Why I said that I don't have a chocolate, but I didn't had anything. If I had chocolate and if I could share, I would gladly share with the little fellow. And here it was, Saritash, the first glimpse of civilization since I crossed the border. Small village, first village in Kyrgyzstan. There's a huge amount of sheep and cows on the road that you can see in Kyrgyzstan, and the thing is, this is something like 2,400 meters altitude. As you can see, it's very green around, and people usually what they do during the summertime, they bring their cattle here in this mountain area. They build up their yurts, which is domestic tents, and they are living seasonally like nomads here. And when the winter comes, they go on lower altitudes. I haven't seen a normal curvy road for so many days, maybe even 2 weeks. It's a pleasure to ride it, but again, I know that those kind of roads usually have some potholes along, so still I'm driving it very carefully. And here it is, finally Osh. Finally found my hotel in Osh.
Gave 2 days off for myself and for bike to rest a little bit, and then from tomorrow I'm starting again.
So I managed to recuperate myself, heal, rest, and check a little bit of city. Here is a bazaar. City is something like 3,000 years old. It has its relics, of course. Here is one of them, Lenin. And more famous, basically the only World Heritage Site in Kyrgyzstan, is a Suleiman Mountain or Stone Tower. It was Muslim and pre-Muslim pilgrimage, and supposedly it contains Suleiman or Solomon's grave in it. If you would check old maps with Silk Road, this was one of the marks on it. Many tourists are visiting it, so what to do? I had to do it as well.